Hi guys, I hope you're all well. It's Susie here from Esoteric Trading Solutions. I hope you're being kind to yourself, being kind to your family and friends, being kind to your animals, your dogs, your cats, any sort of animal, and just people in general, trying to make this world a better place. I just want to go through very simply how xRapid works. I think there's a big misunderstanding out there in the world, and again, one of my clients sent me a Twitter, and honestly, there just really is a big misunderstanding. So I want to make it really, really clear for people that don't understand how xRapid works, which is obviously Ripple's technology. So say I'm a client, okay? Say Ripple has a client, say a Mexican bank that wants to pay a client, an Indian bank, okay? So the Ripple has a client that's a Mexican bank and they need to pay in rupiah to an Indian bank. The bank has one or two alternatives. They can go through the old cluggy SWIFT system, through the foreign exchange market like they normally would, or alternatively, they can go through the xRapid system that Ripple has. If they go through the old clunky SWIFT system, and they buy Indian rupiah and they sell peso because they have to make an Indian rupiah payment to the Indian bank, and they obviously have to convert out of their own peso, Mexican peso, into the Indonesian rupiah. They have to do an FX market transaction. That's number one, if they do it the old way, through SWIFT and through the foreign exchange market. Number one, peso against Indian rupiah is not a very liquid currency pair, very illiquid. So the spreads on that thing would be very wide. Also, there would be, number two, delay in terms of the settlement process in terms of using SWIFT. Now, because SWIFT is an old system, an old settlement system, this deal, once the trader has done the deal through the FX system, the client, the Mexican bank, has given them their peso and they've sold the peso and bought the Indonesian rupiah. They then get their settlements people to book the trade through SWIFT that's to go to India. Now, as I said, normal FX would take these days, trade today, settlement within 2 days. Because I'm in Mexico and this has got to go to an Indian bank through the SWIFT process, SWIFT may have to use other correspondent banks. So they just can't directly go from the Mexican bank to the Indian bank because they may not have a connection to the Indian bank. SWIFT obviously operates on behalf of 11,000 banks globally, but totally in the world, total banks in the world are 48,000. You see what I'm saying? So SWIFT may not have a relationship with this Indian bank, and so thus must find a relationship that can give the money to this Indian bank, the Bank M, Bank Mexico O, to the Indian bank. Now, this takes time. It takes two people confirming deals. Time is of the essence. Foreign exchange markets are moving all the time. And with this, you would have a minimum counterparty risk of 2 days, because an FX trade is T+2 for a standard vanilla type of FX trade. And you'd have settlement risk of 2 days as well as a minimum, because the cash flow doesn't settle with a standard foreign exchange transaction for 2 settlement days. Now, because this is not a standard foreign exchange transaction, it's not like a US dollar against the yen or an Aussie dollar against the US dollar, it's not liquid, then it would take longer. Sorry, I've got spelling errors, but look, I do this really fast, guys, so just take the fact that I'm not a great speller and I don't do word check. So it's going to take you longer than T+2 to settle this transaction. And at the same time, markets are moving in the peso up and down, and in the Indonesian rupiah, Indian rupiah up and down. which also costs money, because as things get more and more delayed with SWIFT trying to find a bank in India that they can pay this money to the end bank, the peso keeps going up and down, and so does the Indian rupiah up and down. And so if the FX trade doesn't settle within the trade date today plus 2 days settlement time, the FX trade itself has to be adjusted by forward points, being the cost of not settling, and that is a cost to the client, the original Bank Mexico client. So it is costly going through SWIFT, and it's costly going through an FX market when you have a currency pair that is illiquid. The alternative is the client, the smart Mexican bank, like Corlex, can use xRapid. Now, xRapid, as I've said before, is being used by a handful of clients that are very happily using it. It's already being used, but for it to come to the market for the whole world, it's coming to the market very soon in October. As I said before, Ripple are very smart. They've had people testing xRapid for a long time, since 2015, banks and whatnot, and they are actually using xRapid. There's a handful that have been using it and very happily, like Corlex, Mexico, US relationship, and so forth, and CBA internally and whatever. So the client's smart, and they're going to use xRapid. Number one, because the counterparty settlement risk is 3 seconds, because it takes 3 seconds to deliver cash flow. In other words, sell peso, buy Indonesian rupiah, and pay the Indian bank. Takes 3 seconds, compared to the SWIFT old cluggy system of 2 days as a minimum. Any time, more time delay is going to cost price adjustments and more costs to the client, and it's going to become more expensive. That's a fact. Now, I read something the other day, the previous YouTube I did, and someone said xRapid may not be cost efficient because of something, which I just thought was totally irrelevant, slippage, which is just totally irrelevant. And they said that SWIFT could be more cost efficient. That is just absolute garbology, okay? So let's go to xRapid. And what are we talking about when we talk about xRapid? xRapid is xCurrent and the use of XRP, okay? The use of XRP and xCurrent. Now, when a client uses this system, according to Ripple, it takes 3 seconds. 3 seconds compared to a minimum trade with SWIFT of 2 days. Even if their system's working fast and whatever, SWIFT might do something, settle something within a day, 24 hours. But it's not the point, because when we're talking about liquid currencies, currency pairs like the peso against the Indian rupiah, they are in a liquid currency pair, which means they're expensive to get into and they're expensive to get out of, because not the rest of the world trade them. Right, so the smart client says to Ripple, I want to use your xRapid system rather than the old SWIFT clunky system and me having to go through the foreign exchange market where I'm going to get ripped off with doing a trade today plus 2 days or more for settlement. So what does that mean? A practical application, and I really think people need this, because I just don't think people understand, and I'm really trying to make you guys understand. What it means is, if we use xRapid and the settlement, sorry, I've got spelling errors everywhere here, but please forgive me for spelling errors because I just put this out very quickly. What it means is the settlement risk, which means the cash flow, because they settle cash flow under xRapid within 3 seconds, there is no settlement risk, but for 3 seconds. That's number one. If there is no settlement risk and it's only 3 seconds, then counterparty risk is the same, 3 seconds. Okay, 3 seconds compared to a minimum with Swift of 48 hours. Now, don't forget, under BAL and all those rules that government regulation put in place and all sorts of things, banks have to put up capital against settlement risk and counterparty risk, which is another cost to the bank or to the client. So if you use Swift, not only do you have the cost of capital being used up because you have settlement risk and counterparty risk, you also have all the risk managers and middle office managing a foreign exchange transaction that hasn't settled for a minimum cash flow of 2 days. The cash flow doesn't settle for a minimum of 2 days. Okay? So what it means, sorry, my phone always goes, my apologies. So not only is there costs in that, but there's also costs in putting up capital. Sorry, let me just... So with xRapid, as I said, it's only 3 seconds for cash flow settlement. So Ripple also stated very clearly that within that 3 seconds that it takes to cash settle a trade, they will compensate any client for the price movement of XRP. And they've said that very, very clearly. So we've seen these, blogs from certain people talking about price increase and slippage, which again are two different things, but I won't go into that because I mentioned it in my previous YouTube. They have said, Ripple, that they will compensate any price movement in XRP over the 3 seconds that they cash settle the trade. How much can XRP move within 3 seconds? You be the judge of that. And if it does move, Ripple have said that they will compensate the client. Right. Ripple has a market desk, a trading type desk where they manage any of the XRP price movements, and they have a netting off process that they manage. i.e., for example, if they buy XRP on one exchange and they sell it on another exchange, XRP, crypto exchange, they have a netting off process and they manage those positions. Okay? Number 7, coming back to our client, the Mexican bank that needs to pay the Indian bank. They need to pay the Indian bank rupiah. The Mexican bank has peso, which is its domiciled domestic currency. The trade, the deal, as we said, needs to be selling peso to buy rupiah to pay the Indian bank. The client uses xRapid. Through Ripple, the client will give Ripple peso. Okay? The client will give Ripple peso because they're using xRapid. What Ripple will do, or the client, Ripple/client, Ripple's teaching the client how to use xRapid. What will happen is they will buy XRP and sell peso on the Mexican exchange, the Mexican crypto exchange, rather than the FX market. Okay? Just like you're sitting in America and you trade Coinbase, you've got XRP against US. I sit in Australia and I have XRP against Aussie. Someone sits in Germany and they have XRP against Euro. You get my drift? Someone sits in America, in India, if they had a proper cryptocurrency market, it would be XRP against rupiah. You see what I'm saying? So what would happen within the xRapid system is Ripple or the /client will buy XRP and sell peso because the client has peso and they want to convert that to the rupiah on the Mexican exchange. Then what will happen is the next trade will be to sell XRP and buy rupiah, whatever it's called, on the Indian exchange. Whether it's a cryptocurrency exchange in India, we know that they still haven't put laws in place, but there might be a foreign currency provider that sells XRP and buys rupiah. But you get my idea. You get my idea here, what's going on. So what we have here is a buy XRP and we have a sell XRP. Those two contra out, and the differences between those two, Ripple manage, and the ultimate trade we have is a sell peso, buy rupiah. Okay, on those exchanges, and Ripple manages that. So Ripple from the client would have got peso coming in from the client, the Mexican bank. They would have sold the peso, bought the XRP on the Mexican exchange. Then Ripple sells the XRP on the Indian exchange and buys rupiah very cheaply, I have to say, and settled within 3 to 4 seconds. You know, even if it was an hour, which they say it doesn't, it settles within 3 to 4 seconds, and I believe that, and I know it because I've tested it. That's what happens. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Number 9, XRP contras out. You have a negative and a positive, and Ripple manages any surplus or any difference in the two. Ripple manages that in their treasury operation. They have a market desk. Number 10, as I said, the Mexican bank gave the peso into the xRapid system, and then Ripple sold that peso and bought rupiah on the exchange, which is then paid to the Indian bank directly. Overall, Ripple has gateways to all the cryptocurrency exchanges in different countries, and they also have gateways, I'll put, to foreign exchange exchanges, and where some of these foreign exchange providers are also now starting to do crypto. Providers are now starting to do crypto. Okay, do crypto. I've lost my spot here. Right, in those countries that Ripple is dealing with. That's why they want to open up gateways and exchanges in all the different countries, so they can use xRapid properly, and that's pretty much what they're doing. Now, all this is done in around 3 seconds. So counterparty risk and settlement risk is about 0. If you don't have any counterparty risk or settlement risk, you don't need in banks risk management people that sit in middle office trying to follow FX trades that have been done through Swift and don't settle for a minimum of 2 days cash flow. Think about it. That's why any bank that uses xRapid saves so many costs, because not only do they don't need the risk management people monitoring all the outstanding foreign exchange deals that haven't settled their cash flow within a minimum of 2 days. And they've got all the price risk of those foreign currencies going up and down. The bank also doesn't need to put up capital against settlement risk or counterparty risk or any other risk for that matter, price risk or whatever it might be. Okay? Now, what other people have said about Swift being competitive in terms of costs compared to Ripple, it is absolute garbology, and I will say it again and again. If you have outstanding foreign currency deals that haven't cash settled, the banks, as I said, have to put up capital for the risk that those deals present on their balance sheet, because the cash flow has not settled. Number 1. Number 2, dealing in foreign currency transactions where there is no liquidity costs a lot of money. Number 2. Number 3, if there's a problem settling the transaction, which is not a normal transaction, not a standard transaction, like US yen, the odds on the cash flow not settling within 2 days is very high, which means there'll be more price risk, which adds all to the bottom line of using Swift. Plus, you have to employ all these risk managers and credit people and settlements people to monitor those trades, which adds to the bottom line even more. If you use xRapid, and I'll repeat this again, if you use xRapid, you don't have any of those risks because the cash flow settles within 3 seconds. Also, if you do volume, like Michael Harrington said, he did a $50 million deal, $50 million US dollar deal through XRP, and it cost 30 cents. All right, guys, that's all I want to say. I don't think I can be any more clearer than that. You know, I just wish, seriously, I just wish people wouldn't speak if they didn't know, or take a position of authority if they didn't understand something absolutely intimately, because it really bothers me that people aren't telling the exact right thing. Yes, I'm not 100% perfectionist myself. I'm not at all. Believe me, I'm not. I'm very imperfect. And but you know, you can't go out there and say in big bold letters, you know, that Swift's going to be more expensive than xRapid and all this stuff, when you just don't know. And it's just crazy. It's almost like saying, we still want to run a car on, I don't know whether cars have been run on coal, but say a boat on coal, you know, and yet we've got the fastest electricity in the world or something. It's just ludicrous. Anyway, guys, this is for teaching only. I hope you understand what I was saying. I tried to make it as clear as I possibly could. And it's a question my client came up with today, and my clients really helped me come up with YouTubes, because then I think, yeah, you know, if they've got this trouble, then, you know, you guys are obviously going to have that trouble as well. So I hope you get something out of it. I'm really sorry about the spelling errors. I just do this really fast, and because I'm very, very busy. And please do look after yourself, look after your family and friends, look after your animals, your putty cats. I love my putty cats dearly. Look after the people, you know, just be nice to the people in the world, I guess. Sometimes yes, I know I call people idiots, and I probably shouldn't, but most of the time I live, you know, with a lot of empathy. So I hope you're all well, and I hope you get something out of this. Thank you.